Our final inductee is known around the world for his marvelous television broadcasting skills. And to every viewer who watches and enjoys bowling on the ABC television network, he is a personal friend. This Indiana native has covered virtually every major sports event, yet he is the first to tell anyone who asks that he's received his greatest recognition because of the PBA Tour, where he's broadcast since its inception 26 years ago. He's seen every pro at his best and worst, under pressure, in triumph, and in defeat. And in each instance, he's managed to pull out the human element of what these bowlers are going through, to play on the drama and the heartache, the elation and the triumphs before the eyes of the bowling world. This man will say that he has taken far more from bowling than he can ever give. Don't believe it. He has served our sport well and with class through his narrations of many bowling films, commercials, and hundreds of personal appearances. He's made an important contribution to our National Hall of Fame and Museum, serving as honorary chairman for the fundraising activities, and that was even before the magnificent structure in St. Louis was built. For his untiring devotion to the sport of bowling, he has been honored with inclusion into the PBA and Indiana Halls of Fame, and has received significant awards from the Bowling Proprietors Association of America, the Metropolitan New York Bowling Writers, and the Billiard and Institute of America. Tonight, he reaches his highest pinnacle, recognition by all of bowling for his contributions. Please welcome to the ABC Hall of Fame, Chris Schenkel.
Pleasure for me to be here tonight on behalf of the 3.5 million members of the American Bowling Congress and all those other millions of people that watch the TV show, many of them in hospitals and nursing homes and so forth. On behalf of all these people, it's my pleasure to induct you in the Hall of Fame, and I'd like to present you with a few mementos, card showing that you're a member of the Hall of Fame, lifetime pass to the National Bowling Hall of Fame Museum. There's a watch with your travels. You can know what time it is. And then here's a plaque commemorating tonight. The folks here are all anxious to have a word from you, and I'll hold these for you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm flattered to be in your presence and to the American Bowling Congress. For the first time in my life, I feel 10 feet tall. I do have a question, though, of the ABC. Ed, are you sure that's only 60 feet? God, that's the longest walk I've ever taken in my life. The usual question walking in, how good are you, Chris, as a bowler? I said, well, there are two people in this entire audience tonight that I can beat. Only two. One is the president of the Bowling Writers Association of America, Dick Evans, and the other is my fellow inductee, Martin Luby. You'll be happy to know this fact. True story. I left my notes back in the hotel room. You should be glad that I did, because I had a lot to say. But 1955 was a lucky year for me because I was married to Francesca Delfino, and also I received a call from the late Pete DeMett, who decided that commentators Joe Wilson and Freddie Wolf needed a rest, and they needed another voice on that series. Well, I must tell you, as a farm boy, I bowled a little, and as a Purdue student, I bowled a little. The knowledge was pretty weak. But the bowling industry, from that day, 1955 on, put me with the very best. I was sent near my hometown in Indiana to Fort Wayne, side of the ABC in 1955. And I was greeted by the most dapper man I had met to that point, probably to this day. I was greeted, and my instructor for the next 4 days was one Mr. Joe Norris. Now, did I start at the top, folks? 33 years ago. When I first saw Joe yesterday, we recounted our trips to Far Away, and I told him how many pretty girls he pointed out to me, as well as tips on bowling. And he said, now mind you, this is 33 years later, how is Don Myers the manager of the Coliseum in Fort Wayne? Can you imagine a memory like that, being 80 years old? Joe, I want you to stand and take a bow. Because honest to goodness, without you at the start, it would have been football and golf the rest of my life. But then in 1962, I was still a full-time employee at CBS. I'll always call it my alma mater, because of the credibility it had. I received a call from Ed Sharp, one Roone Arledge, and then this fellow from Akron, Ohio. I soon found out he was the Ohio Tornado. And I'm delighted for many reasons. One reason, being into the Hall of Fame tonight, that I join not only my friend, but my guiding light, the executor of my estate, Eddie Elias. Eddie, thank you for the call. There you are. So the happiest marriage, two of them, in 1 year, to Fran Schenkel, and then to the marriage of PBA with the American Broadcasting Company. And what a marriage it's been. We're in our 27th season. And to work with Joe Antonoro, Bud Fisher, Kevin Shippey, who took time off from the tour, and with Frank Esposito, the only other person on the series who has been there 27 total years as our liaison between the PBA and ABC. We fly out tomorrow to Kansas City to do another one, Frank, don't we? I learned a little bit about dapperness from him. Here in the audience, take a bow. Frank Esposito, Mr. Paramus. I'd be remiss if I didn't salute the ladies of the WIBC. Helen, you and your ladies have been great supporters of not only me personally, but also of our series. Bowling Proprietors of America, all these years, any city I come into, you make me feel like I've lived there my entire life. And that has meant a great deal to this skinny Hoosier. I have to salute, and I accept this award on behalf of the great number of talented producers and directors of the series, and our skilled technicians who make professional bowlers tour telecasts like the Olympic Games that we've covered for so many years. To my commentators, my expert commentators, all of whom have become friends. Many of you didn't know that Jack Buck and Jim Simpson alternated as my color person in the early years. And that was closely followed then by such names as the late Pat Patterson, who had a style of his own, Bob Strampy, and yes, I even got lucky and did quite a few shows with the great Don Carter. And I learned a lot there, believe me. Glenn Allison, he was one of our color commentators. And of course then, for 13 years, they were so happy with the great Billy Whalen, the late Billy, who I think is tugging on my coattail right now and telling me to get off this because you bowlers want to get at it after all. I want to watch you for a change, okay? And last 14 years, another Hall of Fame member, Nelson Burton Jr. They have added a dimension to the telecasts that I certainly could have not. What has bowling meant to me? So very, very much. Wherever I go, I'm reminded of how lucky I've been to be a part of it, be the visible person because of television. As recently as Calgary. It's always a zoo when you go to any Olympic Games. Because the first thing you worry about in 30-degree below temperature is who will carry my 7 bags through customs. Because I'm not very strong, and lo and behold, the one sky cap that was there came up to me and said, "Chris, I love the professional bowlers to telecast." So I knew I was really in. I had no problems. That's the way it's been this entire career. Wherever I go, people want to help. The attaché to the United States Olympic Committee, Ivan Yule Hansen. Now, this is a pretty highfalutin diplomat. He couldn't wait to meet me. Not because I was a great diplomat, because I was a part of the great game, the great industry of bowling. To our corporate sponsors, I wish I could name them all. We've had so many over the years, but starting with the Miller Brewing Company, starting with the Ford Motor Company, and there are very, very many divisions, AC Delco, Bud Light, Anheuser-Busch, we have them all. And they love to stay with our service. I hope I can stay with it for a long time to come, because it's been the joy of my life, and it's been truly the most consistent friend I've ever had as a broadcaster. I learned the philosophy partly from bowling, partly from the wonderful heritage I have as a farm boy in Indiana. On the radio days, we listened to Amos and Andy. We listened to Sergeant Preston of the Yukon. Hazel. For those of you, have you listened to Sergeant Preston of the Yukon? You know he had a sled and a team of dogs, and King was his lead dog. The philosophy that I think all of you have, and we must all keep in this industry, including the National Bowling Hall of Fame, to make Bruce Pluckon, Jerry Balls, and everybody happy, the honorary chairman as well, is to have this philosophy. Sergeant Preston's philosophy was simple. The scenery only changes for the lead dog.